Andrea, we are Infosecurity Europe, and it's a big event. We've been covering this since 2017, so it's been a while, and a lot of things has been happening since. Although cybersecurity is always, the core of the conversation, but now we kind of go wider, right? We talk about more about what we love to talk about: technology with society and how cybersecurity affect that. And you were on a panel today,
Yes.
but before we talk about that, and before you can answer the questions that we do have for you, a little bit about you. Who are you, and what is your focus on your expertise?
Yeah, sure. Very briefly, I'm an academic translator to business, which means
Love that.
after my PhD, I go straight to an industry I both like, some skills from technical background, which back then we changed different words, but basically the core job is the same. Back then the buzzword was data science. It was talking about 2014, 15, and from there, apart from the change of buzzword, there I stayed. Now it's called AI, machine learning engineer, etc. Obviously, I started as a data scientist within an incubator, very famous in London, probably not outside. It's called Founders Factory. And then based on that, I did a startup. And then from there, I was fortunate enough to write a book in machine learning, which has been translated into languages, Chinese and Korean. And then from there, I started consultancy with a couple other people. There I go. Since 2017, all I do is managing AI projects for clients. I ensure there is, first of all, I understand what's doable and have a return of investment for them, and I manage the project for them to delivery.
Trying to get the outcomes. I want to maybe touch on this because you said you're still data scientist.
Yep.
But I think with most things, especially technology, as we know more, as the technology progresses, as the adoption grows,
Yep.
As we push the limits of it, specialization starts to occur. So you used a couple of different terms of
Yep.
roles.
Yep.
Can you give us a big picture of how AI is kind of fitting into organizations from a business and operational perspective? What kind of roles exist and what are they responsible for?
Okay, it's a very broad question.
It is very broad, sorry.
Yeah, you can talk for 20 minutes. If you
Just that would be 20 minutes. No, but look, at the end of the day, business drive is rightfully so, is profit, revenue, and of course profit. And so therefore, that's the main focus, okay? So you have, how would I say, more business-like project manager that do AI project manager stuff. And then within that, you have other jobs that, for example, who touch only the data. When I say touch the data, it can be from cleaning and do the pipeline. I mean, I have the data on the marketing team, and these data need to be either anonymized or clean for sensitivity of data, and then move it on in another database, converge and merge with other data, etc. Who does this pipeline? Either is a data scientist, data engineer, all this kind of job, yeah? Then you have jobs like, obviously, data analyst, to analyze the data, dashboard, all that. And then there are more sophisticated jobs like machine learning engineer, which is a fancy title. By the way, most of the job is still cleaning and hand-dirty on the data, the tedious job. Right. 5 or maximum, very lucky, is 10% the fun part and the cool part everyone talk about, which is building the model, right?
Right.
Either from scratch, nowadays is most what is called fine-tuning or other form of fine-tuning. Not get into that. Which means basically you take a ready-made model, they already spend million on it, open weight, which means open source, yeah? Okay. Open source model that, let's say, Meta did a model, spent million on it, you take it and then you retune it for whatever you need to do. That's the kind. Okay. Or the machine learning engineer is actually the one from Meta that actually built that.
Right.
But it's about infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And these kind of cover most of the roles. Now, there are very few that do, obviously, the research part of it, we still call ambiguously machine learning engineer, which means the one that produce paper, again, from Meta, Google, OpenAI, etc., they got to the limit of that. Try to find new model, new architecture, the famous DeepSeek, etc. They find new way to architecture the model. Still are calling machine learning engineers, more on the research side, what's new and possible, better, all of that. Or the one like me that don't necessarily improve, but read all of them and try to find the best for a specific business purposes.
What makes something best than another? Well, best, that was very Italian of me. Better than another. when you say, all right, not all are the same, obviously. For a specific case, this may be better. For others, this may be better. As a user, I've learned that there are some that focus more on search engine and result, like Perplexity, for example. Then you have other that are more privacy oriented, like Claude. Or then you have the ChatGPT, which is kind of like the one that everybody to know. But when you apply to a business specific, a different kind of industry, what do you look like? A case study. What do you look into a model to apply to a specific industry?
First of all, is the budget.
The budget.
The budget of the client, and if you are in a POC stage, or I know already they want to scale it up. If it's a test, etc., you probably go something simpler, see if it works, etc. So it doesn't matter too much. Well, either it matters a lot. I mean, it's a very R&D project, as in you don't know if it's gonna work or not. Yeah,
you gotta try.
And therefore, you go very to the limit. Or even the paper is, when you read the paper, they say, look, the accuracy is 60% for us. Good luck, basically. Good luck for you, whatever you're gonna do with it, or something like that. When you're that, but the good thing for the client, and why you will ask, why would they spend the money? Then they know already there is a good, failure rate.
Some return.
Intellectual property. That's the return for them. Or when you go in a more, how would I say, mature model. When I say mature, I mean you know already from the paper or the test that is the result already 90% accuracy. I'm using accuracy as a common term, the other metrics, but you know already it's gonna work. You may need to twist the data in the sector, whatever, but you already know. And by the way, there are a few papers slightly different, but more or less it's the same. You see a few of them. So when you know that there are slightly different, but different papers more or less are the same, you know that that thing works. You may twist it a little bit, and that's the kind of risk / the work I need to do for the specific client, but you know it's going to work.
And that's where the budget come in.
Yeah,
How
that's
much
what the
can
budget.
You tune it? You are allowed
The budget comes in many different ways. What I mean by that is, first of all, you need to decide. The first question is, are you doing an R&D project in which the return will be an IP? Or you're doing an automation process, which the return means there will be an efficient way to do things that either you were not doing that before or you were doing manually. And that comes to the other question, or redundancy of job, etc., if you want to touch that. But that's the first question. Once you answer that, then is the choice, okay, let's plan out which kind of model or / paper. When I say model, I mean research paper or GitHub account, etc., we can touch it. We are kind of confident we bring to the result to the clients. And then there is the implementation part and the scalability part. The scalability part is also very important because you can do nowadays many things you can do. Just you connect to the OpenAI API. You can literally fine tune that, but it's not efficient when you scale it because it will cost too much. And 8x8, have you heard an 8x8? The agentic platform, plug and play, etc. Great for tooling, but try to scale it with a million. First of all, it will cost too much. It breaks like hell. But it's not to talk bad about someone else.
No, I understand.
It's not designed or /
It has a purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not to scale.
Exactly. So that's the cost. If you know already they're gonna, you may decide, even if it's slightly better a model or a solution, you may decide on the other one that costs less when you scale it. That makes sense. So it doesn't. It's not one solution fit all. I need to understand what they want, what's their prone to risk, and then you plan it out.
Are there categories of outcomes they're trying to achieve. You mentioned automation. Another one I can view easily is to achieve something that wasn't possible without the models and the access to data. Another one is to, I'm thinking like enabling the team internally. Another is to connect to customers. What are some of the categories that you see organizations trying to fulfill?
Categories of
implementations using machine learning and
there
AI
are
models.
plenty of look, I give just not to stay on the clouds too abstract. I give you two examples. Very practical examples. So this is R&D. Ministry of Justice of Saudi Arabia. It's a long discussion. By the way, that's when they start the project, because obviously there is a long discussion. It's a chicken and egg problem. The client or the process usually know the sector, but I have no idea what the AI can do. I know what AI can do, but I have no idea of the sector. So you need to find a way. It is a long process. But when you get that, so Ministry of Justice of Saudi Arabia, what they wanted is they wanted to understand if it was possible to automate the judge for not all the cases crazy, but for standardized car accident. What I mean by that, bumping the car, broken glass, or blocking the light in front, things like that. What usually happens in these cases, most part of the world, I would say, there is a judge, and then there is a debate in court. No, that was worth, I don't know, £5, 1,000. No, it's £1,000 because of whatever that is. No, because it's a little injury in the arm, whatever that is. There is a debate in court. So what we got is the data of the debate in court, all the data of whatever happened. When I say the debate, back and forward, defense, accusation, stuff like that, literally what happened, recorded.
Prior case.
Recorded, and obviously the final decision with the reasoning.
Right.
And they ask, hey, based on that, build something that can do it. They didn't believe it. It was 95%. I'm talking about January 2024, 1 year and a half ago. That's R&D, right? Because what's possible, but nobody has seen it. Can you do it? We were kind of comfortable, but still there is an element of, you need to tune for the specific data, it's not standardized. There are many technical, but we could...
And you guys then the ethical decision.
But this is just POC. Not saying, hey, from tomorrow...
Right.
It wasn't, not even, I think they never thought, they just wanted to know. Other is like... telecommunication, like Mauricio Telecom or other company where we work for. They just wanted a system that automate the process of when you are in a compliant industry, you need to produce a lot of reports. How many package of traffic, how many malicious IP addresses you found. You have a lot of tools, but these tools are all around. The data is all around. And usually there is an analyst that take all this data, put it in a form, and monthly or weekly, depends on the regulation, etc., produce this report, and we go and bring it to the regulator. Something like that. I simplify, but
of course.
That thing can be automated. Now, we have any doubt that could be done? No, it can be done. It's maybe longer or shorter, depends on that's okay. But it's possible, very possible. Nobody has doubt of that. You may have doubt how much it costs, etc. But there is no doubt of that. And that's saving time. How you calculate that is saving time on how much is to produce this report. That's clear?
Yeah. Very good. I have 1,000 questions.
You have 1,000 questions, but I want to take advantage of the fact that this is not, even if we're a cybersecurity event, we're actually talking about different approaches of AI and how it can be used. So I want to take this opportunity to pick your brain as an expert in this and a researcher and academic. And maybe clear out for me the buzz and the hype, and tell me, what do you think we can really achieve at a societal level? Like, can we really simplify the court cases? Can we really simplify a lot of things? And how much will we lose our humanity in doing that? I want to go philosophical here.
Okay. Yes and no. There are things that definitely, in fact, I would advocate for that to automation. There is also standard. I mean, if you have a bump in the car, and you have all the data. Is it really? I've seen some video like in US. It's fascinating for me because obviously I'm coming from another culture. No offense to anyone, but you see on video on YouTube, but basically it's a show of the judge to understand if there's,
Right.
it's literally, it's even recorded on YouTube. It's like, look like a show. I mean, is it productive time for a bump in the car? No, I'm not saying that because there are cases or
important for the parties,
fact
perhaps,
there is an heart attack, the person is driving fast, there's a bump because there is a person with a heart failure or something. There's a critical case. Yeah, I wouldn't advocate if there is a problem like that, or allegedly, obviously, then you need an investigation, etc. Like that. But if there is a case like there is a bump in the car and there is allegedly someone that has an heart attack or stuff like that, and that stop, go to a traditional route, even if it's allegedly. But the rest, taking months just for that, it seems a bit excessive to me. That's an example, just to give an example. The problem is to distinguish one case to the others, and that's tricky because, just the example I say, everyone can say, look, I had an heart attack. The moment you say that is allegedly, at the moment you go to the longer route, just because he said that.
Yep.
So there is a little bit, okay, but there are many cases in which we can do that, and there are many cases, just to continue with the judging things, in which I absolutely not. Any criminal cases, for example, because a criminal case, by definition, there is an interpretation of law. It's very messy, what happened, the context.
That's the key word for me, interpretation.
Interpretation of law, and the other key word is any AI system lives in own, it doesn't live, but lives in his own bubble.
Right.
His own bubble. What I mean by that, he knows only where you get it, you give it to it, or whatever else. In fact, you can go political with that. Literally political. In many other ways. I'm not talking just about Taiwan, but have you ever seen Catholic AI? It's fascinating. But there are other ways to do it. Literally, American Catholic AI, they have their own version of it that teaches stuff. But anyway,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I wrote a lot of posts. I was fascinated myself. I wrote a post on that because, anyway, if you ask me, I will reply to that. But I go to the point. I go to the point to say that when there is an interpretation, the AI will say what it's designed to say, because it has no feeling/sensing. Sensing, like we see reality. It doesn't see reality. You need to tell what the reality is.
You need to describe the reality.
The only way to get out of it is, and maybe come in the future, but who knows and when, is a robot with AI inside. Because the robot somehow, somewhere, he will see the reality or perceive the reality itself. But again, what the reality will perceive, just a bit like us, we perceive just a bit of it as a perspective, right? It's not the total thing, etc. So you cannot get out of it, and the interpretation. So no, I doubt any AI will conquer the world like Skynet, etc. First of all, it's all breaking systems, so the only way Skynet or things like that will work
Too
is
disconnected,
no. I mean, in this, have you heard about, for example, sovereign cloud?
Yeah.
Sovereign cloud, by definition, means if you're in UK, you need a contract with the government. You need to ensure that whatever the data, whatever processing you're doing on the data on the model has to stay within the UK territory, or same in US, many other countries, literally this low. That means there is a fragmentation of the IT system.
Exactly.
So how can you even imagine there is an AI can go beyond the fragmentation? And all of that, just you say one, but obviously there is company fragmentation. Within the company there is different departments, and sometimes there is political. The only way that works is assuming there is no all these barriers. If you delete all these barriers, then maybe something can happen. But I cannot think a world without these barriers. I just can't.
Yep.
I can think of ways to break through the barriers,
But one or two or three or four.
But here, I'll connect it to my question that I have as well, because I think there's this general AI, right, that can do everything, but there's a big move to agentic AI, where purpose-built for certain things with all the services, and you start to use those. That this one can poke through here, or this one has access, and then something else breaks down those barriers. I think there may be a potential for a bigger system to be built. My question though is, because it's kind of democratizing a world where systems are built by everybody. And you can vibe code, you don't have to write code. So where do you?
Yeah, go on, but please ask a question. I don't want to go in a direction.
I'll
you
just
don't.
stop. Actually, what were you going to say?
There are at least 3 different directions we can go from here.
Okay.
Direction, so
And then
yeah, direction. So one is okay. I give the titles, then we'll see.
Okay.
One is there are ways now that you can shrink models into smaller models. Okay, it's possible, but the technology needs to improve a lot. So I mean, LLM like OpenAI, etc., is big, as in gigabyte of stuff.
Right.
They stay in the RAM or stuff like that.
Right.
There are methods already that they take a lot of that, they shrink it into 1 gigabyte or slightly less, depends what it is, etc. There will be a moment in which you can shrink enough to have a powerful model in 10, 50 megabytes. Do you know what it means? It means
like
that
one
an
picture.
attachment on the email
yeah.
can be purpose made to do whatever the else.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy.
That's proliferation.
Yeah.
And someone can do it, and that's one direction.
And by the way, that
One
thing,
direction.
that thing can morph based on its.
The morphing thing is
that's
more
a different-
complex.
yeah.
Because at that point, I hope there will be something like there are different ways you can structure the. Is it me? The
Yeah,
operative
maybe.
system. There is different way you can structure the operating system accessing the memory. The good thing of Apple is containerized. So basically, whatever app you have in your phone, it doesn't access everything. It accesses just the memory of that.
Yeah.
So when there's a hint of that, we need to restructure the infrastructure, as in the operating system, as in, because it's game over for something like that.
Yeah.
And that's one direction.
All
There are others. Remind me a little bit the question, so I remind me what I wanted to say.
I was the big picture of democratizing the building of
Yeah.
AI-enabled systems by everybody, and all of that coming together for whatever.
Okay, so the other big thing, there are other 2. One is any industry, would I say, any society, etc., has the same pyramid. What I mean, football, for example. Few players at the top, Serie A or Football League, whatever you have in US. Then there are medium players, then a lot of amateur players, yeah? And that's one thing. And basically, when you say the amateur, it means the hacker is the same. Few very sophisticated hacker
Right.
that were developing these AI, super AI models, and that until few years ago, that's probably what they were the only one that can do it. Now it's democratizing, which means not that it's super low, but the medium definitely, they can access that and they can have proliferation. And that's one direction we can expand on that, and therefore with that. There's another thing though, that counteract this. So if you follow this logic, it means now we have a lot of proliferation, and the quality of the top player and the quality of the medium player kind of balance each other, because there is no, they still can invent new things, but compared to the mass that can do, the difference is very small now. That's one way, but there is another way. It starts to emerge now. I never wrote that, but I will write in 1 week or so. This is it's very easy to understand it once you know it. So, criminal in drug dealers. Well, we come from Italy, and also say, but there is an expert. I heard this from Saviano and things like that. There are people that are, let's say, expert in criminal activities or things like that. And this is very relevant also for US drug dealing, etc. Now, drug dealers. Look, until a few years ago, obviously, drug dealers, the problem is not money, right? They always splurge in the best technology they could, the best plane, the best whatever, to do their own activities. The problem is not money. they bought the best technology available to do the criminal activities. It's true on any. There is a paradigm shift. This is very important for me. Then let's see if you agree. Then we come to AI. Not 100% we come to AI and cyber. An example of it is being discovered, I think last year, etc. They now build their own submarine. They don't buy the submarine. They build their own submarine. We R&D. So basically, they know what the investigation. Okay, I have a sonar. Sonar, the technology to detect the some. They discovered that if you build, they did R&D to build their own submarine. They saw they cannot be detected, and they keep developing. So this is the mind. Do you see the big paradigm? Before I buy the best, and with that I do my activity.
Right.
Now I know. And the same with telecommunication, back as in, I think it's Colombia, whatever that is. Before they were using telecommunication system, whatever the operator is, they build their own telecommunication line. It's a big shift.
It is.
Once you buy the best, build your own with R&D. Same with AI. Now, do you think it's a problem for that? Spend £10 million or 10 million whatever to train a model?
Wow.
It's not happening yet, but if they do the submarine,
Right.
do you think it's a problem? It's just not in the news yet, but
So you
And that's not cyber criminals. That's not nation state. This is
well, they are
Other-
criminals.
This is,
Well, they're
Mis-
criminals,
this is
but not-
Mr. Evil, right? It's Mr. Evil that decide I'm gonna put a satellite that is gonna, like James Bond. And, I'm just going.
Yeah,
to
I get it.
But
But yeah,
because,
but of course. Well, look,
because in a way you're just saying you could apply AI solution to do whatever you want as long as then you have the money to invest
Right.
in order to make that your own. Which at this point means, tell me if I understand.
please.
It means you can't predict it anymore. Where is it going to go? Because they're not buying something that already exists.
You can predict in 1 or 2 years where the limit of the technology will be. In fact, that's what I do.
But not what they would do with it.
No, the application, no.
right.
I'm
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
the submarine.
Yeah.
If they buy the best submarine, when you know the capability of that submarine, you know what it can do.
Yeah.
But if you build your own submarine,
Yeah.
you don't know what kind of technology there is in there to a certain.
I can talk only obviously about AI. Obviously, I suggest the public to read it, how good I am. But this is there are not many organizations that they publish the state of AI report every January. Okay, and I think we are at the 4th edition this January 2025. What is the state of AI report? It's a long conversation. We structure different from another company. But the important thing for the audience, just because I'm saying that, is we do prediction or hint on prediction what is going to happen in AI, not submarine, not anything. I do only AI, to be
Submarine
honest.
is a metaphor.
Yeah, I get it. Only AI in the next 1 or 2 years. And then we review the next year if we say things that are not true, etc. So somehow, not all the time, okay, I can understand where AI is going in terms of technology, not in the application though. If the cyber criminal decide to do whatever, and, who knows if I thought before or not. But I know where the limit of the technology kind of is going to be, etc. before that, yeah.
Wow. Well, I think we were past our time because it's fascinating to talk about these things, and I know you write a lot of newsletters, right? So I just discovered that, and I want to dig in because I feel like there could be a lot of follow-up conversation with you about the application in society,
Sure.
and that will regard me, but I think it regards you for the cybersecurity.
I can see a lot of conversations as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Andrea, thank you very much for stopping by and for meeting you here in London.
Thank you.
Typical London weather. So,
Absolutely.
you know, we got a little bit of
The
rain.
windows are wet with rain. Exactly.
Yeah,
Traditional weather, yeah.
but nevertheless, a pleasure.
Thank you,
And,
guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you,
stuff.
Sean.
You guys
Thank you,
stay
Marco.
tuned. There'll be a lot
Thank
of
Yes.
a lot of conversation coming to you from the Excel here,
Exactly.
the Infosecurity Europe, and stay tuned.
ITSPmagazine.com/infosec25. All the coverage is there.